Hey, have another quick live stream for you. This is Jesus Castillo from rubyguides.com. Thanks for watching. Let's do something interesting. First, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and visit the site rubyguides.com. Then, what are we going to cover today? Well, it's mostly about ActionMailer. So here is the thing. I already recorded a video about this. As you can see, I have a lot of notes, but it was like a 40-minute video, and I don't particularly enjoy video editing, so I just delete that video. I decide, well, there are very important information here, very important insights and other kinds of knowledge that's hard to find. If you search for ActionMailer, there is a lot of information that I discovered that is not easily accessible. So might as well just share the most important information with you in a live stream. That way I don't have to be editing it. I just give it raw to you. I'm just going to point out what's ActionMailer, why is it useful, and some of the important highlights, bits of information that you need to know to make good and effective use of ActionMailer. So what is ActionMailer? That should be our first question here. Where ActionMailer is part of course, Ruby on Rails. So Ruby on Rails, so you know, this is a framework. It's not a language. A lot of beginners confuse Ruby on Rails with the language. They tell me they want to learn the Ruby on Rails language. No, it's not a language. Ruby is the language, right? Maybe you already know that, but there is a lot of people that they don't know that, believe it or not, right? When you know something, you think everybody else already knows that, but that's not how it works. Before you learn something, you didn't know it. So that happens with a lot of other people, and that's why I have to explain this, right? Ruby on Rails is a framework made of many pieces. One of these pieces is ActionMailer, and this piece allows you to send email. It's a complete system for sending email from your Rails application. What are other parts of Rails? Well, we have things like ActionPack, ActiveRecord. ActiveRecord, of course, very popular because with ActiveRecord you work with the database. There's also more recently, there is ActionCable. As you notice, they follow similar naming nomenclature. Right? ActionCable. I cover this in another live stream. The main highlight of that is that ActionCable is not the same as network sockets. So another thing a lot of people are confused with, not the same as network socket. It's a higher level thing. You don't need ActionCable to build like a chat application. You can build that with plain JavaScript, right? ActionCable is for something called WebSockets. Right away, if you want to research that, it can get quite complex. And personally, I like anything that's simple, right? So that's another piece of Rails, and there are more pieces, more components of Rails. You have the routing component, the routes, the views thing. The views has its own component to manage all of the views, right? But ActionMailer, as it should be available in all Rails versions, and it allows you to send complete email system, sending with Ruby on Rails. That's basically what ActionMailer is, right? And what do we mean by complete email system? Well, to send an email, you need to do different things, right? You need the email content, and you need a way to actually deliver that email, right? So that's different things. One thing is content of the email. And another thing is sending, delivery of the email. Right? These are different things that have to happen if you want to send email. And these are completely different things, and ActionMailer helps you manage both of these things. It also helps you testing. It has a component part of ActionMailer facilitates or makes it easier for you to send email with and test the email that it works, right? Write tests like RSpec kind of tests and things like that. So that's an overview of what ActionMailer is. Now, for if we get more detail, here's what's involved. As you know, in Rails, we have folders. Everything is organized in all kinds of folders, like the app folder, right? And then we have controllers, we have configuration files, and all of these kind of things, right? So ActionMailer also integrates into this structure. For example, we have app mailers. That's the first part of or subcomponent of ActionMailer, app mailers, right? So if we take a look at app mailers, what we see is this, two files, application mailer and user mailer. So if you are familiar with Rails, you will recognize this, because if we go to controllers, there is a similar pattern. It's very important to recognize patterns, not only in Rails, but on anything that you want to do, right? Because patterns, controllers, patterns show up a lot again and again, and that's useful information, right? So notice application mailer, application controller, right? This is what I mean. Users mailer, and this could be users controller. In this case, I have cats controller because this application is about cats, right? And here I have user because it will be strange to send email to a cat. Last time I checked, cats don't have email accounts. So yeah, that's why I name it user. But if I wanted to be more consistent for this example, this could be cat mailer, for example. So notice these patterns, and these patterns are part of what we call convention over configuration, right? And this shows up a lot, especially in Rails, in Ruby on Rails, right? So if you're just coming here, this is a live stream. So maybe I stop to read chat messages or just to go on a tangent and mention something else, right? That's what you can expect in a live stream. If you want more direct and structured content, then you have many of my pre-recorded, not non-live stream videos. One of the advantages also of the live stream is that you're watching live. You can interact with me by typing in the chat message, have the chat on another screen. I will look on it like I will look like right now. For example, I'm looking at a message from Brian Astacio. He says, "Hi, Jesus." Well, hi, Brian. Who are you then? And where are you from? I'm from Spain. And you may already know that. If you don't, well, there you go. And we're looking at ActionMailer. And we started explaining this part of Rails, specifically Ruby on Rails. I want to remind that Ruby on Rails is a framework. It means it's a set of tools, a set of components, and it's not the language, right? It's built on top of the Ruby programming language. That's important to remember, because this difference, it makes a lot of, it's very important when you're researching in Google, or when you're going to buy a book, you want a book about Ruby or about Ruby on Rails. It's going to be different content, because our book about Ruby on Rails is going to focus on building web applications, not on probably it might give you a little bit of introduction, like the very minimum of Ruby. But if you want to become a professional, do you want to be the bare minimum? Will you go to like a surgeon or a doctor that just learn like the very minimum? Probably not, right? You would like the best. At least he learned everything, all the basics, not just the very minimum. Same thing with hiring a software developer. You want someone who really knows what he's doing. You want a professional. That's why you want to learn Ruby on Rails and Ruby separately and go deep into both, right? If you usually I recommend starting with Ruby, because Ruby on Rails is the base. Ruby is the base of Ruby on Rails, right? Ruby on Rails adds things on top of Ruby. Okay, so just with that reminder done, and I told you that I would go on tangents and do things like that, so there is that. And let's go back to this. I mentioned the pattern, so we can clearly see the pattern. And if we take a quick look using VI or Vim, we see that doesn't exist because that's not the correct folder, right? So it helps to have the correct folder. We can see, okay, that looks familiar, right? If you open your application controller, we are inheritance. So this arrow, it means we inherit. So this is part of object-oriented programming, right? OOP, object-oriented programming. It means that we are acquiring, we're getting everything from ActionMailer base, right? We're getting everything that's in here, and we're inheriting it into this other class, right? And here we have methods. These just are methods. There's no magic here. These are just regular Ruby methods. Where do these methods come from? Well, they come from here, right? Because we're inheriting from this class, which means we're taking on all of the methods, all of the instance variables, everything that's defined on this class is going to form part of this other class. It's like a kind of template, right? If you want to see it that way. So that's called inheritance, part of object-oriented programming. Just mentioning this so you can Google for more information or search on my channel for videos about these topics if you want to learn more. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, this is our base application mailer or application mailer class. And we're setting some defaults. The purpose of this class is to set some defaults. In this case, the default is to set a from address. So you would change this to something else, right? To the address that you want the other person, so the users of your application, to see. So don't do the no reply. That's very rude, I find. It finds like you're talking to a machine. So don't do that. Do something like your name, the name of the person that's going to reply to these emails. So if your name is David, then you will do David, your domain.com. That way, people know that they're talking with a person and not with a machine when they reply to this email that you send. Yes, the email is sent by machine, but the person that is going to reply to is hopefully going to be you or one of your employees, right? So that's just an example. your name. Layout mailer, what's this? Well, of course, because it's a default, you can change it. Layout mailer, well, you can have layouts for your mail, for your emails, just like you can have layouts for your website pages, you can have layouts for your emails, right? So you can send text, plain text emails, so you can send HTML emails. So here's another thing, another recommendation: try to avoid very fancy emails. People just delete these. Don't do very fancy emails. Go with plain personal emails. That's always better results, in my opinion and experience, right? So you don't need any fancy templates unless your company is really into that and they don't accept any other options. But I would recommend going with plain text. No, it doesn't have to be plain text format. It still can be HTML, so you can track clicks and opens and things like that. But yeah, you don't want it to look like a magazine page, right? That's what I want to convey. So the layout is, in this case, going to be very simple because we don't want any of these fancy things. So what is the user mailer? Again, if you're familiar with Rails and you're following along this pattern, and let's quickly look at the application controller in case you are not familiar with it. I'm going to demonstrate that for you. As you can see, we have an empty class. In this case, it's called application controller, and we inherit same pattern, we inherit. This is what the arrow means in this case. Inherit, we take on the attributes, the methods from this other class, which is called action controller base, right? Compare this with this other one, application mailer, action mailer base. So you can see these patterns are all over the place in Rails. So now if you take a user mailer, now this is where you actually implement one of your mailer classes. It helps again to have the correct file path. Yes, user's mailer, and this is what it looks like. You notice that we inherit again, but this time we're inheriting not from the base, but from our application mailer object, which has the defaults, right? We call this, you choose this name, this user mailer, and what we have here is methods, and each one of these methods represents one of the emails that you want to send. So I have two examples here. One could be a password reset email, right? This is a very typical email that you may want to send. Another could be a sign up email. And notice that these methods can take parameters. What are those for? Well, these parameters can have additional information that you need for your email. So typically this will be like the address or the subject line and other information that you need to send the email. So this is like coming from your controller, okay? So this is what you want to do. You want a class, and this class is going to group up the different emails that you want to send. So what is the content? So we can see the receiver of the email, so to. So we have the from, the to, and the subject line. So this is the title of the email, right? Where is the actual content of the email? Well, we're going to find out, but before we do, two quick reminders. First, this is I'm Jesus Castillo from rubyguides.com. So visit my website if you want to learn more about Ruby. Okay. And you can, one thing I didn't mention is you can create this with a generator, right? you can create what you need to send email, at least the actual these files, the mailer files. You can create these with this line right here, right? With this line. I already have that, so you don't need to run that again. Okay, little pause. I'm going to read the chat. And we have some name I can pronounce, sorry. It's hi. Then we have Brian, everything great. Hi, Ruby forever. Yeah, I agree. And then we have Artem. Okay, hi Artem. How are you? We have Brian. Yeah. I welcome you all. I hope you are learning something new, having a good time. And yeah, that's how you whoa. I just went. Okay. I just wanted to highlight this and it went like that, right? That's the command you would use. Feel free to write that down if you want. I will leave that for a second there. You have any questions, by the way, about this that we're covering today, or any Ruby questions or Rails questions? Feel free to type them in the live chat. Still while live, because this is not going to last forever. When I end the stream, then we can't interact live anymore. So if you have questions, now is the time to type them. Okay, I hope you write that down if you need this command. And let me explain something about this. This is the name. This could be another name. As I explained, this doesn't have to be users. If you have some other kind of users, like an admin mailer, maybe something like that, then you would change that. And not this framework in this case. This will not create testing files, but if you're using, you can create them manually, or you can remove this if you want the test framework files to be automatically generated, right? So there is that. It's not necessary for this command to work to have that. So there is that. With that said, we can look into what I was mentioning before. Where is the content of the email? We see in the subject line, the title, we see in the from, the to. Where's the content? Well, it turns out that the content is not in app mailers, it's in app views. So the views, the emails, the actual content of the emails is like regular views. In fact, you can use ERB or HAML to build the contents of your emails if you wanted. Okay, so let's take a look at that. If I go to views, we see that there is a folder specifically for our content of our emails, right? And we can take a look at that. It's empty, but it's definitely empty. Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's a cool command if you're on Linux. There's a cool command. It's called file. It's a built-in command that tells you what kind of file you're working with. So this is very helpful, because if you have some strange file, you don't know what type of file is it, you can do file and the name of the file. I will tell you what it is. So this is very helpful if you're working on a Linux system. Okay, this case is empty because it has no content. But here is where you would type up your content for your email, right? So this could be like, hello, thanks for signing up. And here you could include things like the name. So you can do like regular IRB and say you have access to this. user.name, right? Task would you include the person's name, other information here, but this information has to come from the controller. So this like views, just like your regular views for your website pages, this works very similarly to that. And that's the contents of the email. Notice one thing very, very important again with the patterns. The names have to match up. So all of the naming in here have to match up. Here's what I mean. If we go back to UserMailer, you see this name, sign up, password reset. Well, your views for the contents, they have to match. So it have to be sign up and password reset. Otherwise, it's not going to find the content of your email. So there is that. So with that, we have the mailers and the views. Now, there is more to cover here, but let me quickly show you let me show you one of the important stuff here. Because how do you actually send an email? Well, you send the email from the controller. Here's what that looks like. This line right here. You see this line? That's how you actually send an email. So this assumes that you have a UserMailer class on app mailers, and then you have a confirmation email method, and here is where you send the information, the user information. So we can say hi, the name, or we can have the user's email, whatever information we need. That's how we send it. And then that's not enough. That's not enough to send the email. We also need deliver now. And I'm going to read some comments. We have Alan Lavender. Hello, how are you doing? He says, hi Jesus, just dropping in this time. NetAguest script, actually is there a scaffold for this in Rails? Thanks for your book. Yeah, thank you Alan for buying my book. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoy it. I don't think there is a generator scaffold for a guestbook script. I don't believe there is that kind of detail. You have, let me show you something. If you Rails G, hold on. I need to start gems. Well, let's do that. I wanted to show you all of the options that you have. If you do Rails G, you should be able to see the different kind of generators that you have. But let me just install the gems for you so we can run this. And while that's running, I'm going to read another command from Giri Haran S. I hope that's the correct name. He's saying how to redirect to post method. Well, there is the redirect to. That's related to ActionMailer in this case, but you have redirect to method, and you want to look at the documentation. So look for documentation to see all of the options for the redirect to method. I think we can do that here. Let me see. Oh, but we need to install the gems. We need this to finish before we can do that. So hold on a moment. So yeah, you can Google for this. Google for the options that you have for redirect to, and you will see all of the options. So you can redirect anywhere you want to another action, to another page. Now if this finishes, we can look at some other things. So any more questions? We have Alan, he says, in that case, this is very useful. Well, I'm glad that was helpful. Thank you for letting me know. I'm just trying to. Why is this take so long? I don't know. So yeah, while that's running, let me finish what I was going to say here. Is that the UserMailer confirmation email, that's how you send the email, but you also need to deliver the email. So you need to say either deliver now or deliver later, right? So if you use deliver later, it will put into a queue. So it's going to be delivered whenever Rails is available to deliver the email. Deliver now is going to be delivered now, right? It's not going to be put into a queue. But make sure that you have a delivery method. That's not enough. If you just have this, the email is not going to be sent. You need a delivery method. Either deliver now, deliver later, right? As I have here. Oh, this is done, so we can take a look at that. There we go. See, this is what I mentioned. And you say you do Rails G, and you get the full list of options. So we can do application record, assets, channel, controller, generator, integration test, builder, job. This for background jobs. So this is another component of Rails called active job. This for that. Mailbox. This new Rails 6. This allows your Rails application to receive email. So everything here is to send email. If you want to send email, receive email, then that's what Mailbox is for. You also have Mailer, which is what we're covering here today. Migrations, this for ActiveRecord for the database, make change in the database. Models, resources, Scaffold, here's your scaffolds. You can also scaffold a controller. Apparently never use this, so I'm not sure about the details. You can also do a system test task. I believe this is a rake task. If you don't know what rake is, well, I explained that in videos and in my website, which is, as you might already know, rubyguides.com. And we have more, and this comes from gems. So this for active admin. This also a gem. This also a gem. And this for testing. Okay. And I believe you can find out more details about this if you do Rails G. And by the way, G stands for generator. It's just a shortcut, right? We can pick a particular option like scaffold, and we can see options for scaffolding. Lots of options you have here, as you can see. And you also have a description. Even examples. Examples are always useful, right? So there is that. Lots of options for you. But I don't think they're specifically for like the guestbook. But you can do something like Rails generate scaffold and guestbook. And then the attributes that you need. I don't know what kind of attributes that would be. Maybe you need like a use person name, like a name of the person that's signing up the guestbook. That will be a string, and then whatever other data that you need, right? There are different kinds. By the way, there is a difference strings and text. I believe the different string is limited to short strings, limited for like 255 or 256 characters. That's a string, and then text is when you have longer text. So that has no limit, but I believe the difference is less efficient to use text than string. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know that string is more limited on size. And by the way, all of these relate to database types. The database has its own data types, if you want to look that up, right? By the way, for a database, I recommend Postgres, always. Don't mess around with NoSQL or any of that silly stuff. I think NoSQL is silly 90% of the time. So don't waste your time with that, even if it's convenient or whatever excuse. Just go with Postgres SQL and you will be fine. So that's the database I would recommend. Yeah, look up your types. This you can find online on the documentation for Rails. If you need to know the different types that are available. Okay, so there is that. So this was in response to some question. Oh, I also wanted to show you this redirect to. I think we can check. Let's see if we can do this. Yeah, we have some information here. So we have implementation from redirecting, redirect to. Yeah, we have some documentation here. So you can redirect to an action, you can redirect to post, you can redirect to an address, to a relative URL, relative because it doesn't have the domain name. You can redirect to a post URL, you can even redirect using a proc object, all kind of things. You can also redirect, have a status. So there's documentation. You can find this online too. So RI is a tool that you can use to find out documentation. You can use this inside Pry as well if you are a Pry user. There you go. There are other ways to access this. If you know on what this, I think a find method. Some yeah. We need to load Rails from within Rails. So this is a quick, nice trick for you. You can do config environment, and this should load Rails from within Pry. So this is a nice. You should config environment. Guess not. Hold on. Config. Oh, okay. Hold on. Just want to demonstrate this for you. Oh, I think we require relative. That's why it didn't work. Config environment. Okay. I think now we should have access to like Rails things. Well, yes, this is a little tangent. Redirecting. Maybe you have access to ActiveRecord. ActiveRecord. Yeah, just messing around right now to see if we can. I think we need something called eagerloading to load the classes from Rails. Because a lot of Rails is put on lazy loading, which means the classes are only It's called lazy loading. The classes and auto loading. Classes from Rails are only loaded when they are needed. So maybe that's why I don't have or maybe it's this error that it doesn't want. Why it didn't load. Interesting. I think we can do this. Like I said, I'm just kind of messing around right now with this because it's interesting. Oh, this should be like L. I think there is one. Whatever. Let's go back into the comments. We have Oscar FX game. He says, hi, good morning. If I need automatically notify a user of the creation of their account in the system, how would it be done? Maybe explain it, but I just go to live. Thanks. Yes, basically, you would set up ActionMailer. You would set up an email, so all of the components of ActionMailer with your generator, your views, the contents of the email, and then when you create, you set creation of their account in the system. Yeah, so this will be like a sign up email, right? It will be like a sign up email. So it will be like sign up. So yeah, it will look like this. You set up your mailer, the contents of the mail, and then you send it. So it's your UserMailer, the name of the method, and then deliver now or deliver later. Basically, that's what you do. That will be at the controller level, right? So right after the account creation, then you can use this and send the email. Yeah. I wanted to mention one important thing as well. There are different kinds of delivery methods. You have like test, email, SMTP. Test you can use for testing, so that's helpful. And what that we do when you have the test mode enabled, it will populate, which means it will fill a special array called ActionMailer deliveries. ActionMailer deliveries, like that. This special array that only works, or at least only for me to work, when you have test mode enabled, right? And you can find your test mode. Whoops. Right here, if we go, that's the test mode, right? Right here I have SMTP. You can set this to test, and then you have access to these deliveries, and that allows you to check what emails are sent. So this allows you to check if you are actually sending emails and what the emails are. There is also a preview system built in, but to enable the preview system, you need some generator with a preview class and whatever. You can look that up if you're interested. And one more thing I wanted to make sure to mention here is error messages, because you might see this message right here says process output email. Make sure you see that. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you. Little bigger. You might see this process output email. Very important. It doesn't mean that the email was sent. It just means the email was created. locally. The email object was created. That's what that means. So don't get confused, because I got confused by this few times. Process outbound emails, it only means the email object was created, not sent. So if you want actual errors, if you want to make sure the email was sent, besides playing around with this test delivery method and checking the deliveries special array, well, you can use the exclamation mark. So you can do deliver now exclamation mark, deliver later exclamation mark. And with this, you make sure that you will see any delivery errors. So remember, there are multiple parts to sending an email. One is the content, another is creating the mail object, and another is actual delivery to the email server. So that's outside of your system, right? But that may result in errors, like maybe you have the wrong credentials or the wrong port number or whatever. You can see these errors. How? And being able to see errors is very important as a developer. Well, one way to make sure that you see the error is to use the exclamation mark. And you want to use this mostly during debugging sessions and things like that. You probably, I don't think I would leave the exclamation mark during a regular production code. But it's very helpful for debugging and finding out more information. So that is your very important tip of the day. That's worth a lot, I think, knowing that, if you are working with ActionMailer. Okay? So any questions before we are done here, because it's pretty hot here in Spain. I don't have an AC, I don't even have a fan. So I'm kind of sweating right now. And I also have my door closed because I live with my brothers. They're making some kind of noise. I'm making noise speaking. I don't want to interfere too much. So it's extra hot just for you while I'm doing this live stream. So any last questions that you have before I go? And just a reminder, my name is Jesus Castilla. I'm from Spain, if you care about that. And my website is rubyguides.com, where you will find lots of information, articles, original, clearly explained Ruby and Ruby on Rails articles for you to learn. That's rubyguides.com. Okay, so any more questions before I go? So we have Brian Stasio. There is a way to specify a time that I want to send the email, like for example 3 hours later after the event was triggered. I believe there is. I think you can do that with deliver later. So let's find out deliver later. Implementation from ActionMailer. There you go. There is your answer. Deliver later, wait 1 hour. Ta-da! Hope that helps. So yes, it's possible to delay the sending of the email. And there you go. So for these questions, not only Rails but also Ruby, it really helps to check the documentation, right? As you can see, the answer is right here. There are different ways to access the documentation. You can use this RI command, which is built into Ruby. You can use pry. With pry, you can also search the documentation in various ways. You can also go online and search for Ruby documentation, which, by the way, is separate from Rails documentation, right? Because remember, Ruby is the programming language and Rails is the framework, the web framework. But you can do many more things. Ruby is not limited to web applications. just a quick reminder, you can do all sorts of programs and things with Ruby. You can even do video games if you wanted. Of course, I wouldn't recommend to make a commercial video game in Ruby because the tools are just not there unless you want to spend a lot of money to hire developers to build these tools. But it's possible, the possibilities are there. But you can play around with it and do some basic things with all that, right? And yes, Ruby is worth learning in 2020 and beyond. It's still active development, active everything, active community. Okay. So there is that, and that's pretty much what I have for today. Do you have any final questions? Have Ryan Anastasio, great, yeah. Thank you for watching. Any final questions, or we're done here? Yes, I want to try data analysis with Ruby. Yeah, that's a good use of Ruby. There are all kinds of data analysis you can do. So, you know what's very helpful is knowing things like map, select, inject. All of these enumerable methods are super helpful for data analysis. Because you can filter the data, especially with select. Select is very good for filtering data. You can chain methods, you can combine methods, right? You can combine methods together. So, like if you have this, something like that, you can split and split by comma. And then maybe you can uppercase every letter. See, we are combining methods to create our final solution. Maybe we can then join. Yeah, I love that. Then you can do these kind of things with Ruby. Yeah, we try. Good, let me know how it goes. I just know sometimes, but normally we Ruby devs are web devs. Yeah, you're right. But I don't think it should be that way. We should be icons of programs we should be able to build. Not limit ourselves. Why limit ourselves just to web applications? Let's build all kinds of things. And yeah. Okay, so I'm done for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for your support. If you like this, make sure to click the like button for me so I know that you like and enjoy this live stream, and so that more people can find this, because YouTube favors videos that have more likes, more comments, things like that. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on live streams, because I don't schedule those. I just do them when I feel like doing them. So your best way to find out when I go live is to have notifications enabled. Also, when I release other kinds of videos. Watch more videos on the channel. I have over 100 videos. And visit the website rubyguides.com. Thanks a lot for watching. I will see you in the next